What's going on, everybody? Welcome on back to Neverlag. Today we are doing our show DualShocked, which neither of us can remember if we actually ever did. But it was intended to be our Sony specific show on a semi-monthly basis when there's something to talk about. So we thought it a good time to sit down and discuss the showcase, the state of play. Was it officially a state of play?
I believe it was a
Or if
state of
that's what they
play. Yeah.
labeled it. I think
Yeah, I
so.
think so.
So we had a state of play just a few days ago, and we thought it was worth sitting down and discussing our thoughts, kind of over the state of play as a whole, as well as just each individual game that was announced. So, I, of course, am one of your hosts, Levi, joined by the man who fell in the pit, Zach. How you doing today, Zach?
I am good. A lot of exciting games announced. Um
Kind
and
of, yeah,
kind of a surprisingly, I mean, not an amazing showcase, but not a bad one either.
yeah. I feel like our hopes and dreams and expectations were shattered so hard last year that I was coming into this bare
Yeah.
bones
They
expectations
were
because last
sufficiently
year,
low. Yeah.
yeah, last year we thought, man, surely we're going to get and we're going to find out what every first party developer's working on. And lo and behold, 2024, we still have no idea.
Yeah.
Still haven't heard anything about Ghost 2.
Well, yeah,
And so I
spoiler, we
think,
still don't know what most of the first party studios are working on, but there's some cool
right,
stuff coming at least.
exactly. So I think we came into this not expecting any of that. And with lowered expectations, I think this actually was a really solid, I don't want to say filler because filler, but it kind of feels like a filler year for Sony, which maybe we'll
Yeah.
discuss as we kind of talk about the showcase as a whole. But I guess let's start there just with the state of play. What would you give it, out of five? How did you feel about it?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a 5. But I'm not quite sure if it's a 3. I wish I could give it like a 3.75 out of 5. Like it was better than 3 out of 5. Closing in on 4 territory. Maybe to be generous, I'd say 4. I think it was pretty good,
I
especially
mean, you
based
got
on
to
where
pick. Where does your heart go? Three or
3
four?
point yeah, 3.75 is where my heart lies.
There isn't five.
I'll go 4. I think, but with the
Okay.
with the stipulation that was based on all of us having very low expectations. Like I think most of us who follow this stuff were thinking, like, we know we're not getting updates from a lot of the main party stuff, like what's Naughty Dog working on, what are all the
Yeah.
Insomnia. I mean, we kind of know some of the things Insomniac's working on, but we weren't expecting some of these big updates. And so I think with that, it was like, wow, this isn't going to be very exciting. And it was pretty cool. There was some neat stuff, even though it
Yeah.
was more like third party. Filler's the wrong word because I think there's some valuable stuff here, but it is kind of like an off year. It
It's a
feels
bridge
like
year. It feels like a
a
bridge year
bridge year,
for
yeah.
Sony
And so,
where they're very much bridging the gap with third party where they've kind of um, they've been left holding the bag, so to speak, with their live service push is kind of what it feels like. That's what 2024 feels like to me.
right, yeah.
Could be
So for
wrong.
a bridge year, I think there was a good mix of cool things here and a deep enough look at a few different things that it felt like it was worth the 40 minutes of sitting down and watching it. What about you? Where are you at on a 1 to 5 scale?
Nice. Yeah, I think it's between 3 and 4. If I had to pick, like you, I think I would go 4. Simply because we've had some really terrible state of
Yeah.
plays in the past.
Yeah.
Um, so so I think that this was a step up. I actually think this was relatively Xbox's showcase. I liked more the presentation, a little bit more, but I would say they're relatively on par. I think Xbox and Sony both kind of brought it to start the year with
Yeah.
their online showcases. So I would give this a 4. And again, yeah, with the context of um, just I don't think we're getting any first party news this year, if maybe later in the year. So that said, I came into this low expectations, and I think that they really delivered. I mean, from start to finish, I felt it was paced really well. Um, I didn't think there was really anything here that felt like a waste of time or didn't need to be here or was kind of for nobody or boring. Um, and yeah, I thought they did a good job. So,
Yeah.
how do you want to go through game by
Let's
game
just
here?
Yeah, let's go by. We have a list pulled up of everything that was announced sequentially. So let's just go through it. And if we have nothing to say, we could just kind of, quickly pass on it. Um, yeah. Starting with, I think it started with Helldivers too.
Yeah, opened with Helldivers too. So um, I can't imagine. I don't think either of us played the first one.
I don't think so. I think I might have. I can't remember. I feel like I played like 5 minutes of this game when it
The
first came
first
out.
one
But
was, I believe, isometric. So
oh,
they've
okay, maybe I didn't. I'm
kind of
thinking of something.
completely,
Yeah.
yeah, they've completely changed viewpoint or almost genres, really.
Yeah.
So I think there's a pretty decent amount of excitement for this game in the co-op multiplayer type of
Mm-hmm.
space, which I guess is honestly nice to see from Sony. We don't see that very much. So,
Yeah. True.
what do you, how do you feel about what you've seen? Does any of it intrigue you? Has it at any point this trailer made you feel like, you know what, maybe that's something I would jump into?
It's all right. I mean, yeah, I could see myself trying it out if like you or some other friends were playing it and it was on sale or included as a monthly game or something. I could see myself giving it a try. It's not anything I'm like chomping at the bit to try either, but it looked cool enough. What about you? What
Yeah.
did you think?
What's weird is that in the past they've shown a few trailers for this, and I was moderately intrigued. Like one of those games where it's like, I think I'd like to play that. I don't know if I'll get around to purchasing it or spending the time on it. But I've kind of leaned a little bit more into co-op experiences. I've enjoyed them lately, and so I felt like this had promise. Ironically, this trailer, I don't think the trailer was terrible by any means, but I think you always leave a trailer either feeling better or worse about a game, or
Yeah.
it changes your opinion in some form, even if it can be negligible. I actually felt a little lower. I didn't like the trailer very much, and I don't know. I came out of it feeling a little bit less excited for Helldivers, which I'm not sure is fair. I think there's a lot of fun looking stuff here. Um, it's always fun to blow up aliens with friends. I mean, we've known that
Yeah.
since probably before Destiny 1, but especially since Destiny 1. So
Yep.
yeah, if they can come out and deliver good gameplay, it is, I believe it's mission based, which I've never clicked with as much, the Monster Hunter type mission base. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that exactly goes. I've never played a Helldivers game, so but if it's fun gameplay and you're killing aliens with friends and the monetization isn't atrocious, um, I could absolutely see this being one of the co-op games I jump into this year. So comes out
Yeah, for sure.
February 8th. So man, we're a
Yeah, we'll know pretty soon
week
how
away.
it's received. Yeah.
Gonna pick it up in your fantasy league.
I've toyed with it because there's a lot of excitement over it, but I don't really have a good baseline for how this game. I think the first one got like a low 80s, so I don't know. I thought about picking it up, but
Oh, did it really? That's intriguing.
I think I could be wrong, but I feel like it might
Okay.
have got like an 81 or 82.
I think we might have missed
So
the boat anyways, because the reviews will be out before um, we can pick it up on Saturday. So,
yeah, yeah,
all
you might be
right.
right.
Anything else about Helldivers before we move on?
Now let's keep going.
Cool. The next one was Stellar Blade. Um, I this was like this was not even on my radar. I think I remember it now that I'd seen it. I'm like, oh yeah, that exists. But if you had asked me before this, what is Stellar Blade,
I
could
wouldn't
not
have
have told
remembered.
you
I will say
whatsoever.
though, to your earlier point about a trailer makes you either more or less excited, this made me more excited about it. This seems kind of cool. I don't know if it's going to be quite the game for me, like mechanically, but it looks pretty cool. Like it feels like a weird mashup of Final
Yeah,
Fantasy, Near Automata, um, I don't know, and like uh, what's the hack and slash game like
Bayonetta.
Bayonetta. Kind of feels like a mashup of those properties, which
Yeah, I
I'm not
think
huge
you
on the
nailed it
Bayonetta
right there.
stuff, but everything else, like the aesthetic of it, is kind of intriguing. And um, yeah, I might check this out. This seems kind of cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where I was going too. This was off my radar. Couldn't have told you what it was before this, but I thought the trailer and the way they portrayed it, excuse me, I think they did a really good job with it. And I came out of it being like, okay, this is a game that I might play. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could go either way for me because I'm not, the games you mentioned were exactly the games I thought of. It was giving me Final Fantasy VII remake
Hmm.
vibes. It was giving me I mean, obviously Bayonetta. When it first started, I'm like, did Sony get a Bayonetta game? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah. The combat,
um,
especially.
so I don't. I guess I haven't looked into it much. Is it? I wonder if it's the same creators or it's weird how similar it's like pulling from Bayonetta, but it's like
Yeah.
a newer, higher fidelity version or whatever. So,
Hmm.
then the thing about it that you compared it, and I saw it too, Near Automata. Um, those are the things where I was like, I don't know if I'll like it, because I did play Near Automata and it did not click for me. It's one of those games that I just did not enjoy playing or being in that world really. And I know that it's a lot of people's like, people think it's a magnum opus, and it's just, its story and its theming are so profound, but it just, the game itself, I did not enjoy it really whatsoever. And so the little tidbits here that gave me that, I was like, I don't know. But I don't know, the character interactions I felt seemed really good. Some of the story things seemed interesting. Obviously, your big boss battles and stuff, if it can be, um, not just flashy, but have some good mechanics behind it and a skill curve. Um, I feel like I could definitely be down for this if it kind of hits on what I was seeing in this trailer.
Hmm.
We'll see. I also get, watching this, I get a little bit of, and I don't know if it's fair, but I get a little bit of like Forspoken energy, um, like 2%. And as
Yeah.
I'm saying that out loud, I don't even think it's fair, because like the
Yeah.
dialogue and everything seems so good. Forspoken is like a dirty word, but like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
couple things where I was just like, is this gonna be a dumpster fire? And I don't think
Yeah.
it will be, but you never know till a game launches these days. So,
That's very true. Yeah, I
um,
didn't quite get Forspoken from anything in this. I will say the Nier Automata thing. I also just didn't quite click with Nier Automata, but not for the reasons you didn't. Like, I liked the theming and the aesthetics. Like, those things were interesting. I just, it didn't quite come together into an enjoyable gameplay experience when I last tried Nier Automata. But this has some of the aesthetics and like world elements of that, which I thought those things in Nier were really cool. So having some of those aesthetics and like feelings to the world with a different story, different characters, and trying to accomplish a very different type of story might actually work for me because yeah, I like some
yeah,
of those aesthetics. But again, we'll see. This is one of those things. I don't know if it'll be a dumpster fire, but it looked pretty solid. But I feel like this is one of those things that could be really flashy and looks cool, and then the combat is just kind of shallow or something, and then not super enjoyable. That's my biggest concern here,
yeah,
or that like the story just doesn't hold itself up very well. But I'm excited. This is definitely on my radar now.
yeah. April 26th. So again, in kind of late spring here, um, or mid spring or whatever. And yeah, I think it's mostly pulling from like, if you took Bayonetta and Final Fantasy VII Remake and put them together, that's what this feels like.
Yeah,
And if it delivers on that, I think that'll be a good time. So,
yeah,
um, it's funny. We talk about this year looked so barren and like a bridge year for Sony, and I still say that's true. But I thought this was a very strong showing. Helldivers looks like it'll be fun, and then straight Stellar Blade right after that, I thought was one of the strongest showings of the showcase.
yeah,
um, and all of it's kind of making for a down year. It's a decent looking year for
yeah.
Sony if you're not nitpicking first party versus third party. So
Right. I think PlayStation players will have stuff to do. Yeah.
yeah. Next we had Sonic Shadow Generations. What do you think about that?
Looked kind of interesting. I played Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog. I think it was on GameCube. What did I call it? The Hedgehog.
Hedgehog.
Um, I almost went into territory demonetization territory.
Yeah,
Yeah, I played Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm pretty sure it was on GameCube back in the day, and I liked it a lot. Like I'm a fan of Sonic. I'm not a diehard Sonic person, but I've played some of the games throughout my life, and Shadow's kind of cool. He's a little emo, but that's why we love him. So this
especially
I'll
back in
be
2006.
especially then, especially as a teenager. I remember this Shadow came out and it was rated T, unlike a lot of the other
Yeah.
Sonic properties were E. And he said a couple of cuss words in the game, and I remember being kind of scandalized and like worrying that my parents are going to hear Shadow the Hedgehog drop the A word or the D word.
Oh
so,
man,
so well,
Shadow's
I
like crap.
yeah
You're like, can he do that?
What? Yeah, so yeah, Shadow's cool. I haven't been as into Sonic in modern times, but I might check it out. Like yeah. What are your thoughts? I'm assuming you haven't played any of the old
Yeah,
Shadow stuff.
I'm not a big Sonic person. I grew up playing Sony games. I didn't really have well, I guess what was Sonic? No, yeah, it was Nintendo. It's
Sonic is
always been
Sega.
Nintendo for
Sonic
it's kind of weird because it
Sonic
came from Sega
technically, yeah, it's Sega, and then they were on
and then
Nintendo
Nintendo
a
kind of
lot.
took over.
And now they're
Anyways,
all over the
yeah,
place.
I didn't play these older games. I actually would really like for Sonic to be good and like and like play Sonic the way that I jump in and play a Zelda or a Mario,
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
cool if it could get to that point. I still have the recent open world Sonic game. I can't remember what it's called.
Frontiers? Is that what it's
Frontiers.
called?
I've got that on my on
Same.
deck on PlayStation,
Yeah,
and
same. I haven't tried it yet.
if and when I get to it, I don't know. But it's sitting there, and it's just like I never pull it up. I haven't done it yet. So I have heard people who love Sonic, I think, tend to really like Generations. I think it's considered one of the better Sonic games ever made. Um, so that could be cool. The fact that they're throwing in Shadow, I don't know. We'll see. We'll kind of see if it can maybe come out and actually have some
Yeah.
critical success and create a bit of a Sonic wave that really only the movies seem to have been able to do in recent
Yeah.
memory. That one's slated for autumn 2024 release. You think it comes out this year?
Um
Autumn. Yeah, autumn.
Probably. Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah. I think this probably comes out this year.
All right, next we had Zenless Zone Zero. I feel like we've been hearing about this game forever. Um, how many games does Hoyoverse need? That's my first question.
Um
All of the games, 6, 7,
I think
14.
yeah, they need a couple dozen. A baker's
Yeah.
dozen
A
online
baker's
MMO
dozen
games.
of gacha games.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have much to say about this because and I'm one who I enjoy some Genshin Impact. I enjoy. I've messed around with. I don't even think I mentioned this to you, but I messed around. I downloaded Honkai Star Rail the other day.
I've seen you online with Honkai Star Rail in your name. And I was like, I know what you're doing. Yeah.
How would you know that? How are you seeing me online? That I feel like that incriminates
He's on I
you.
think it was on PlayStation. Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to
Oh,
see
on
what
PlayStation. That's
yeah.
right.
I'm just
I've
trying to
been
see
using
what
the
you're doing at
tablet,
all times, but nothing
just
creepy.
stalking me.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped into Honkai Star Rail, and the thing about Hoyoverse is they make really polished games. Like they really do. Genshin Impact is beautiful, feels fun to play.
Yeah,
Honkai
Genshin
Star
feels
Rail,
quality. Yeah.
again, same. It's the same. It's almost weird. You jump into both of them, and they feel like the same game in different genres.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
it's kind of bizarre, but I've enjoyed both of them. I'm sure this will probably be another really great looking game, great feeling game to play. But I do think Genshin Impact started uh, kind of not a new genre because it's a genre that's existed for a long time, but it really popularized a genre, especially here in the West.
Yeah.
And I think we're reaching the point. By the time Zenless Zone Zero comes out, it feels like we're going to have fatigue with these.
Yeah.
There's only so many, just like there's only so many
How many
live
can you
service
play?
games you
Yeah.
can play.
Yeah.
How many gacha games are you going to log into daily and try and get your pittance of credits that you can wish for a new character once a year? It's just like
Yeah.
it's kind of tiring. So that's where I'm at with this. This looks kind of fun. I don't know if the industrial punk setting is really doing it for me, which is weird because I think that's a setting I generally enjoy, but not much about this is really standing out to me
Yeah.
against the competition is where I'm at. So I don't know if
Same.
you have
I had forgotten
thoughts,
this
but
was even in the thing until until we saw it on the
yeah,
list. Like, oh yeah. So no thoughts. I played a little bit of Genshin. Kind of liked it. I haven't gotten as much into gacha games, so I doubt I'll check this out. But yeah, for someone who needs their seventh Hoyoverse game, I think this is going to be a real hit.
it's gonna it's gonna get that spot. Just good for you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I also feel like we've seen so many. I feel like Zenless Zone Zero has been at showcases for like years now, and it's just kind of getting
Yeah.
tiring.
Yeah.
So,
That too.
Foamstars was next, and I feel like this is a meme game, but I'm kind of looking forward to this. It's very unapologetically just ripping from Splatoon, and
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant idea because Splatoon, never played it, but from what I've seen, looks like a really fun game,
Hmm.
and there's really nothing out there in the market like it. So
Yeah,
why would
there
you
is.
not create a competitor that's on your console?
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully this isn't a what's the Destruction All Stars. That's what this feels like. Do you
Hmm.
remember that
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
PS5 launch?
Hmm. Yeah.
That went nowhere. Hopefully this
That was a
isn't
flash in
that,
the
but
pan.
I have a feeling this is going to be a flash in the pan. But if they deliver good mechanics, this could be a, you know, a low profile, continuous game that people jump into and have fun to
Yeah.
get that Splatoon itch over on Sony's platform. So it looks crazy. It looks kind of fun. Hopefully the monetization, as always with these games, doesn't just ruin the experience. And I think it's part of, yeah, PlayStation Plus on February 6th. So really soon here we'll be able to hop in and see if it's any good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm intrigued to maybe try it out. It's not super high on my list, but it looks like it could be a fun time for sure.
Could be a fun night or two with friends,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
Um okay, then we had some Dave the Diver news, which has already been out for a while on Steam and I think Switch,
Yeah.
maybe
I
even
think so too.
Xbox. I think Sony might be the only ones who do. I don't know for sure, but it's coming
Perhaps.
to PlayStation. Um, when is it coming? Can't
May of
tell if
this year.
the. I think May of this year is Godzilla expansion. I think it's coming in April. Or no, is it coming alongside? Oh, it might be coming alongside that
I'm not
expansion.
sure.
I thought
They didn't really clarify that.
I thought during the trailer I remembered them saying Dave the Diver was coming in like April, and then they were like, "Oh, and there's an
You
expansion
might be
coming in
right.
May."
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right.
So I don't know. Someone fact checked us or fact check us, but I haven't gotten to Dave the Diver yet. I have it on Steam. It's
I do
one of
too.
my
Because a
it's
lot
one
of
of my
people.
like yeah. I mean it blew up. It
Mhm.
was what did it win indie game of the year despite being not an independent game and all that controversy. So
Right. That's right. I
um
forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's in my top like two or three backlog games on Steam to get to. Cool that it's coming to PlayStation. Um, and then I thought the crossover was. I mean, I haven't played the game, so I don't really know. I know it's like a sushi game, so I don't know if it's set in Japan or what. It was interesting to see that Godzilla is the expansion
Yeah.
for this. I not having played the game, I was like, how does that
When
work?
the Godzilla theme music started, I was like, "Oh, there's a Godzilla game." It's like the next trailer, and then he comes up and it's still Dave the Diver. I was like, "What?" um, so I mean, yeah, I don't really know it. Like, I haven't played it yet either, and it is on my list. I want to try it. The Godzilla thing kind of makes me want to try it more because I actually love Godzilla. But yeah, I know
Gojira.
you're underwater, and Godzilla kind of lives underwater. So in some ways, that I could see that, but it's
What are you gonna
also
be fighting
like,
Godzilla in
yeah,
Dave the
like
Diver? Like,
other
what are
than
we
him, just
doing?
like other than him appearing, like what are you
There's like
doing?
just a random event where he comes and destroys your sushi
Right.
restaurant, and
Yeah. So
I don't know.
not against it though. I like Godzilla randomly showing up is something I'm fine with. So that's kind of cool. I look forward to this. I'm excited to try
You
Dave
and
the
all your
Diver.
patrons have to fend off Godzilla.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we probably sound so ignorant to those who've played the game, but
Yeah.
anyways, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's always nice when you have a game that's in your backlog that you really want to play. You're waiting
Hmm.
for the right moment, and then it gets an expansion like a year later, and it just provides that little oomph
Yeah.
to finally get to it. And then now that you've gotten to it, there's more content there.
Yeah.
It's a fuller
Get a
game. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
hopefully that'll be the case this May. All right, from there we went into V Rising, which is getting a PlayStation launch and has been at least on Steam for a while. So I don't know if it's been
Couple years.
actually,
Yeah. I
yeah, it's
played
been in
a
early
little bit.
access. This might be its 1.0. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Um,
I think I played a little bit in early access. It was cool.
okay,
But yeah, I probably won't get to this on PlayStation.
I'm
I
curious.
don't
Go ahead.
I was just say I don't often play the survival base building stuff super frequently. And now that I'm playing Pal World and we have
Yeah, there's
Enshrouded,
no
there's
Pokemon in V Rising, so
yeah, but I mean if you like
sorry.
vampires and you like survival, then this is a great game to pick up. But
Yeah, I am curious how this will land. I feel like we have arguably too many survival games either hitting early access. I can think of like 5 or 6 off the top of my head hitting
Mm-hmm.
early access or hitting full launch this year,
Yeah.
which I has kind of all happened at once for me. I haven't been paying enough attention, and I didn't realize that we were so close to reaching this like saturation point with survival games, but
It kind of happens
it's
slowly, then
become
all at once.
then
It's
all
like,
at once. So
yeah.
we'll see what V Rising if it can. I've heard really good things about it as
The
a
gameplay
game.
is good. It's a good
So
game. So I think, and the vampire flavor is going to be what, a lot of people like that. So I imagine it'll do fairly well, but I don't know if I'll be dipping back into it. Certainly,
yeah,
if I did, it'd be on Steam, probably not PlayStation. But
right. All right. Next we had the Silent Hill, the short message, which, and then also they kind of talked a little bit about the remake, which I got nothing here. I've never been into horror games, um, never played any of these games, so I know a lot of people are excited for Silent Hill 2.
yeah,
The rumors about this have been just rampaging for years at this point. It seemed a little disappointing, and I've seen that sentiment that we still don't have a date on this. So
on
bummer for
Silent
all
Hill
those
2,
waiting
you
for
mean?
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, on the
yeah.
remake.
I mean,
I think a lot of people were
I agree
hoping
with
for a
that.
date.
On the flip side, getting like a free full experience, like short but free experience right now is kind of neat. Like just being like, hey, this thing you can go play it right now. It's free. I don't know what the quality of it will be like. I haven't played any Silent Hill. Horror survival I is not as much my genre either because I get scared. It's hard to finish them. So I don't know that I'll be dipping into this, but um, I don't know. It's hard to be upset with like, hey, there's this free experience you can go download right now.
That's
Um,
fair.
but
If you're
yeah,
going
I
to come
mean,
out and not give us a date, I mean, if you give someone a day and date content drop, then that's
it's
probably the
it's
nicest way
something,
to
right?
do
It's
that.
like, okay, yeah, it's kind of saying here's something to tide you over. I feel like it's a
Right.
gesture of goodwill. Hopefully, the short experience is good too. Um, I mean, it looks scary, so if that's what you're looking for, I think you're gonna get something scary here. So,
You're going to get
um,
spooked.
yeah,
Okay. The next one I think is pretty interesting. We got
yes,
really our first decent look at Judas, which is
hmm,
the next game coming from Ken Levine. He formed Ghost Story Studios, and he's coming from the BioShock games. So
yeah, he's
we
the
really
guy
haven't.
behind.
Yeah,
BioShock is like one of the greatest games in the past couple decades. I think a lot of us
yeah.
still look back to that and is like one of those games that kind of
It
blew our
kind of
minds.
defined the first person um, action horror
Action horror shooter
combat, like
with also with really
with
like
like
strong
powers.
thematic and narrative elements. Like
That's
he
true.
plays with
Yeah,
really interest. Like he tends to have like fairly deep world building and things where it's like it makes you think about reality and in various like even philosophical topics, and it's woven
yeah.
into the gameplay. And the Bioshock games did that phenomenally. So um,
This seems to
I'm super
continue
excited
that
about
a
this.
lot.
Yeah, this
Like
felt
everything we
yeah
saw in this was
yeah.
like, okay, this is the same mind of the guy who made
Hmm.
BioShock. So we haven't really seen anything BioShock like. I mean, especially
Yeah.
from the creators of BioShock since BioShock Infinite. So I'm really intrigued. This looks cool. I'm also curious. Like, it's been a long time. How will a BioShock game be received in 2025? I don't think they have a date on this, did they?
They didn't give a
Just said
date, so
now in
I
development, so
imagine
maybe even later.
it's at least
Um,
2025, but I think
so
it
I
will
mean, I
be
know the
received.
fervor for the BioShock, like it's there,
Yeah,
but when you actually get your hands on it, is it gonna hold up in whatever year this comes out in? Will be really interesting to see.
yeah, I think it will for two reasons. One, like the mechanics of the Bioshock style games are very action forward, and so I think you can polish up and like add in some new conventions that have been introduced in like the first person action shooter type genre. You can see from the trailer that there's some really interesting abilities that they're already playing with. And Ken Levine tends to like Bioshock was like this, where they had some just really creative uses of like weird abilities that accompanied like shooting or using a wrench to hit stuff. And so I think that's going to hold up really well. And I
Yeah,
think they'll be able to get that polished and have some creative ability applications that will feel fresh and new. And then the other reason I think this will hold up in 2025 or later is just the narrative and theming. Like I think Ken Levine, he's done that multiple times with BioShock and with, was it System Shock or whatever he did before that. I feel like he's going to be able to do that. I don't know if it'll be like as big of a hit as BioShock, but I think it'll be good enough that like it's going to scratch that itch. So I feel pretty confident this will be a good game.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's his first game with this new studio, so um, and it kind of reminds me. Now that I'm thinking about it, the trailer reminds me a bit of Cyberpunk, um, in space almost. And they've said, I
Yeah.
think they have said that, or Ken Levine, I don't know if it was an interview, but that this game was heavily inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy and just kind of that
Interesting. Yeah.
fun, bombastic space, colorful space, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks very intriguing. I definitely need to see more. I thought it was a good first. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we had the reveal, but this was kind of like the first. Here's the game actually.
Yeah.
And I thought it did a pretty
For
good
a
job.
first,
So
like for kind of that first introduction, I think it was good. And also just kind of
yeah,
interesting. I feel like Ken Levine's go-to is like, what if there was a weird city somewhere crazy? With BioShock,
somewhere
you're
you'd
under the
never
water,
think of.
and then you're in the
Where's he gonna go
sky, and
next?
now
You
you're
know,
in
he's done
space,
the ocean, the
middle
sky,
of the
and
earth,
space.
center of the
Oh,
earth.
like the core.
Yeah, that's where I'd
That's
go.
actually a brilliant idea. What if
I know.
it's never been done?
Never
We should
been.
make a
Yeah,
game.
Jules Verne has never written anything called Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's not. It's not a thing. Anyway, I think
Was
it's
there a
cool.
city there though? Yeah, I guess there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't.
in defiance of all physics, like the pressure would just. But whatever. Um,
What is a city in space?
oh no,
I
I was
guess you
talking
could
about
have a
Journey to
city
the
in
Center of the
space.
Earth in space. Yeah, there's no issues going to space,
No,
but
I'm just saying physics are not a problem for storytelling in video games. That's all.
no, they're not. I'm not. Yeah, it's. Um, I'm all good.
Uh,
Get the
anyways,
physics
we'll see
crazy.
what.
Yeah.
Who knows where Mr. Levine is going to go after space? We'll have to wait 20, 15 years to find
Yeah, we'll all be dead
out.
anyway.
Yeah. Next was Metro Awakening VR, which I couldn't even tell. Is this a VR release of a game we already have, or is this a new game?
I
Awakening
think it's
brings the
new.
storied Metro franchise. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think this.
Very
I
cool.
don't know either because I haven't played anything Metro, but I think this is like
Yeah, it
kind of
says the
like
game will be
Half-Life
set.
Alex or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It says the game will be set before the events of Metro 2033.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I feel like this game probably leans would work really well in VR. The Metro series are actually there's a couple games in there that I own that I've been meaning to get to. Um, because I know I said I don't like the horror genre, but I like the suspenseful first person
Kind of sci-fi horror
shooter
too.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
So the world has always intrigued me. I've never gotten to it. This is cool for the half a dozen people that own a VR
Right.
headset,
It's nice
and then
to
after
see
that,
some good games come into VR. Like I don't know
yeah,
if this is going to turn around that ship or make it anything more than a niche product, but we need some more cool games. And it looked pretty high quality too. Like that's kind of the issue. Some of the VR games it felt a little bit like just kind of like a stunt, or like a just kind of a,
yeah,
I'm forgetting the
a
word, but
gimmick,
yeah, gimmick. That's what I'm looking for. This feels like a fully realized experience that would be fun to play.
yeah.
And if you're
I
on
mean,
the fence
honestly, I
about
think
getting a VR, this might tip you over.
I think there's a not insignificant amount of people that have been eternally on the fence with VR,
Yeah.
and we just need a handful more games like Half-Life Alex where people are like, this is it. This is a game you got to play. It's amazing in VR. If there were
Hmm.
6 to 12 of those, then I feel like I would own a VR headset, but there
That's
just
how I feel
aren't.
too.
And so
Yeah.
many of them are just kind of like, we're still
And
here with VR, like,
I know. Well, but
so
even just this trailer was cool enough that I was like, maybe I'll consider it. Like I had kind of like given up thought of purchasing one, and this kind of got me thinking about it again. So if Sony can bring a few more of these, yeah, I feel like
yeah, we'll see.
VR may not take over and replace everything, but it might become a nice addition that people
It
still
might
pay
become
for.
something we actually own. So next
Yeah.
was Legendary Tales, which looked fine. This is one of those that just looked like the most generic VR game I could have thought of. Like it had all the VR looking trappings to me. Is there anything that
It
stood out
did.
to you?
It made me want like a really good VR Skyrim. And I just realized
Yeah,
like I kind of want to replay Skyrim because it's been forever and I
I
actually
thought
never
there
finished it.
was. Is it just a
There
mod? I
might
thought there was
maybe
a
there is.
VR
Yeah,
for
maybe
Skyrim.
there is. But this made me realize I was like, you know what? Dipping into like a Skyrim or Oblivion. Oblivion was my favorite Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
Dipping into that in VR, like that would be such a fun way to revisit it. So yeah, I don't know if I'll check out Legend. I think if I ended up getting a VR for some reason, I would probably try Legendary Tales because it looked fun, but it did look pretty generic.
Well, yeah, you'd have to. There's only like 5 games, so it'd be one of
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
I'm just I'm just teasing you, VR. You know, I kind of love you. I don't really love you, so never mind. Um, yeah, you know what's funny is you were talking about that. It reminded me of the showcase, Xbox showcase with Avowed, and
Mm-hmm.
Avowed looked like if what we saw from Avowed, and they were like, oh, this is VR. First of all, that would a lot of people wouldn't like that. But if they were like, you could also do this in VR and it's the same,
Yeah.
now we're talking because that's your Skyrim, that's your Oblivion in VR. So
Yeah. Yep.
hopefully we're
True.
close to that. Next, we had a further look at Dragon's Dogma 2, which I don't have a ton to say. This continues to look really impressive. Um, at this point, I don't know if I need to see anymore. I just need to see reviews. I just need to see
Yeah.
how it plays. I feel like these games, they're always so big that you just don't know until they land the plane. Does
Yeah.
everything come together? How does it perform? How does the
Yeah.
combat actually feel when you're playing it?
They clearly have a
There's a
cool
lot.
plane, but
There's a
yeah, can they
lot that
land
can
it?
go wrong with games this big, and you
Yeah.
don't know until you know. You know,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
everything
Yeah.
looks great though. Everything looks great. I just want to
Fully,
preface
fully,
that.
fully agree. Like, it's one of those things where it's like we won't know until we see like can they pull everything together. But it looks awesome. The visuals look phenomenal. The original Dragon's Dogma is like super beloved, and this looks from the I played a few minutes of it, not a ton, but it feels like this feels like the successor game. Like it has a very unique style and vibe of fantasy. Like it's dark fantasy, but it's also kind of more classic fantasy than like Dark Souls or something. Like it's kind of this certain type of fantasy that we don't quite have that flavor of, and I'm really excited to get it. I love the creatures in this. The combat looks really interesting. It looks like they're focusing a lot on like magic based classes that do all sorts of interesting things. So we'll see. This is on my fantasy list. I'm very excited about this. There is a chance that this could go wrong or be disappointing. I do think it's going to be at least pretty good. Um, we'll have to
Yeah,
see.
yeah. I mean, I think that in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world, they're very much hoping that Dragon's Dogma 2 can be the Baldur's Gate 3 of their franchise. They're hoping they
Yeah,
can beat it by one game. We'll see.
right,
We'll see if
right.
we'll see
I
if
think
they
this
can
will
do
be.
it.
I think this will be a very different type of game than Baldur's Gate.
For sure. I
But
just mean in the way
but
that
yeah,
no one really played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2,
true.
relatively
Yeah,
speaking, and then everyone played Baldur's Gate
I
3.
think that's a good comparison
I
in
don't
that
think a
sense
lot of
because
people played Dragon's Dogma, and
it's
I
kind of one
think
of
they're
those niche
hoping.
recommendations that like I'll hear like in certain gaming circles where they're like, "Oh, Dragon's Dogma was the best fantasy game I ever played," and so it's always been on my
And
radar.
you're
But
like, I don't really listen to Dogma.
yeah, exactly. I'm not none of that dogma you're trying to shove in. No, it's one of those things where it's like there's a loyal fan base, but it never quite broke to the mainstream. And I think this has a chance to do that. You're right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. When is March 22nd? So
March it's coming up
month and almost two
just under
months.
two
Month
just
and
under 2 months.
yeah. We shall see. Definitely looking forward to see how that one comes out. I thought the trailer was probably the best trailer yet, I will say. Another, I would say this and Stellar Blade so far are kind of like, well, Judas. I mean, this was a pretty good state
This
of
was a
play. I
good
stand by my
yeah.
four. I stand by
Yeah,
my
four
four.
is a solid four. Yeah.
Yeah. Next, we move on to Rise of the Ronin, which I know so little about when I picked it. A little
Oh.
pointless backstory again of our fantasy league. I picked this in fantasy, our fantasy critic league. I feel like with our podcast, we should put like the games we have. We should put our teams on each side, the games we have, the score, and the total throughout the whole year. It's
That's
probably too
yeah.
much effort, but that would be hilarious. Anyways, I picked Rise of Ronin simply because it was a PlayStation exclusive, and it felt like a bad decision at the time because I'm like, this is going to be eternally compared to Ghost of Tsushima, and that just can't be a good thing. But I thought this was a really good trailer as well. It's not necessarily my style. I thought the historical time period that it's choosing, um, though a historical time period that is like, it's no fault of history. It's just a weird combination for me. And I get that they're kind of going for that, where it's like this Eastern meets Western. You got samurais and guns, and like it's a very interesting mix we haven't seen. So it does have that going for it. I'm not sure it's my favorite, but um, a lot of this looks pretty cool. I was actually
Yeah.
getting I was getting it was reminding me of Red Dead Redemption 2 a little bit, in his like
Oh,
walking
okay.
around the town, and
Yeah. A
something
little bit
about
open
it was it
world.
was
Yeah.
it was busy enough,
Hmm.
open world, and like I don't know if it was detailed enough. Something about it was reminding me of Redemption 2, which I can't say that I've seen a game since then that gave me that feeling. So that's promising. I mean, that might be setting the bar a little too high. What do you think about the showing here and Rise of the Ronin in general?
It made me regret counterpicking Rise of the Ronin on your fantasy list. So I counterpicked it, meaning if it does poorly, I get points. If it does well, I lose points for counterpicking it on from your list.
Yeah,
Um,
anything above 70, you take negative points. So
and this looks pretty cool. Like I'm
I think
actually
it'll be
interested in.
80s. I think
I
it'll
think it
be
will be too.
lower 80s.
I'm interested in playing it. It to me it felt like a mix between Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro, because there is kind of like a parrying based system when you're sword
There
fighting.
was a bit more Sekiro in this than I was expecting,
Same. Yeah, so like
um,
I don't know if it'll fully
which is
be quite
cool.
like that experience, but some of the parrying and like combat felt like
Yeah,
Sekiro, and then obviously Ghost of Tsushima with like open world, in the setting a little bit. But also I agree, like kind of the verge of being on the verge of modernization and like guns being introduced. Like that's a very fascinating period of history, and I think it will make for some interesting gameplay elements. I'm not
yeah.
opposed to that. I think that's kind of cool. They're doing it. Um, there's so many games I need to get to, so I don't know. I feel like I'll probably try this at some point, but I'm excited. I think this looks good, and I imagine it. From we saw enough of it that it feels like this is a solid game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. That's kind of what I was wanting to know from this. Is Rise of the Ronin a dumpster fire, or is it gonna be a pretty good game? And I think I came out of
Seems
this
pretty
going,
good.
I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. And if you told me, hey, do you want Ghost of Tsushima meets Red Dead Redemption 2 meets Sekiro, I'd be like, yeah. I don't know if that's what that is. That's what it reminds me of. And if it kind of hits a few notes from each of those games, and does it 8 out of 10 good, then I will be here for it.
Yeah,
Looks like it has some cool traversal too. It's got some Spider-Man in there with him like grappling to
yeah.
rooftops and then gliding around. So
Glide. Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
nice to
We've
see the
got Ghost of
ubiquity of
Tsushima 2 at home, you know? That's
no,
what
we
this
don't.
was.
Ghost of
So
Tsushima 2, we don't. We have Ghost of Tsushima at home.
all right. Well, I just meant this is the replacement
This
for
is the
that
Ghost of
until
Tsushima. Okay, I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see. This one's coming out. It's the same day as Dragon's Dogma. That's an interesting
that's actually kind of wild.
thing there,
And I wonder how that will impact.
especially
I
for
guess
March. I
either
feel
of
like
them.
March isn't
But
even that full. Why would you do that? Just one of you delay a week or two. But anyways,
yeah,
PS5 exclusive. Yeah, looking forward to it. I thought this was a good showing.
hmm
Another tent pole showing from the showcase. Until Dawn coming to PS5 and PC. Cool. Not much to say about that. Never
fine.
played
Yeah,
it. Not my
actually did play
not
it.
my style. People, yeah, I mean, people
It's not
like
my
it. It's
usual style
considered
either.
one of the
It was pretty good. It plays like a horror slasher thriller type movie, but
where
you're
you make
playing it.
choices and
You make choices and investigate and stuff, and it was sufficiently spooky. And
people
it
die.
had it's people do die. It subverts expectations though. Like it does a good job of like um, adding in twists in the narrative that catch you by surprise, and you're like, oh, I didn't see it going that direction. Like it was good for that. I played it with a few friends years ago. Like they stayed over for like a night. We just stayed up playing it. Um, so for horror fans, it was cool. Like, I mean, it was fine on PS4, but I guess if you haven't played it yet, why not?
Oh, that's true. Coming to PS5. So Are they
Yeah,
doing any
it's
sort of upgrade for it?
um it didn't really specify. So I would
I
hope
mean, they would
so,
have to.
but
You can't just. Assumedly, it would at least have better frame rate and stuff. I don't
yeah.
know. Hopefully, it's better for y'all who haven't played it yet or want to play it again
Yeah,
on
I don't know what they're
PS5 or
charging
PC.
for it either, so hopefully it's
Who
not
knows?
full
Yeah, that's
price, but
true.
we'll see.
Okay, so that brings us to the piece de résistance of the showcase. Maybe, maybe not. Death Stranding 2. And I guess I didn't, it's funny about this whole trailer. This trailer was so long. Oh my goodness.
It was a long
It was
trailer.
so, and it was so confusing. It was so Kojima confusingly
Yeah.
done where like it would have a card and you're like, "Oh, that's the end or that's the title." And then it would go into like another episode
More
of the
trailer,
trailer.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like episodic.
Yeah.
And there'd be like a second
It
episode
was
and
like a
then there'd be a
trilogy
card with a
trailer. Yeah.
yeah, and then there'd be like another card with a line and you're like, "That's the title." And then there's like another. So I came out of it. I was like, I don't even know what the title of this game is. I don't know what. I feel like I just watched the whole game.
Yeah.
That's my critique of this. Was like that was a lot. I don't know if we needed all of that.
Yeah.
However, I will say, watching this trailer, I feel like for the first time in my life, I was like, I understand the Metal Gear fans
Yeah.
because I've never played the Metal Gear games, and I know that there's such a fan base. I mean, it's what made Kojima Kojima, who's just like I don't know, he's lauded in this industry. Um, and I know that Metal Gear gets weird and crazy. And then I played Death Stranding 1 and I'm like, okay, I get it. But
Yeah.
then watching this trailer, being a little bit invested, I'm one who enjoyed Death Stranding. I thought it was a really mechanically interesting game and I really enjoyed my time with that game. I thought it was unique and it was an experience I remember. I enjoyed interacting with the terrain in a way you don't in most games. As well as the world. I thought it was just a really interesting world. And so having that
Yeah.
investment, watching this trailer, I was just like, I was along for the ride. Like I was just fully intrigued by everything that was happening, all the weirdness, and it just kept getting weirder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, you know what, I get it. I get all you Metal Gear fans, and I feel like we're this whole Death Stranding is officially on its way to becoming the next Metal Gear for Kojima. I feel like is where we're at. We weren't sure if Death Stranding was going to be a one-off or what. I feel like it's going to be the new Metal Gear. So
Yeah.
I've got more to say, but yeah, what are your thoughts on everything that was this trilogy of trailers we got here?
I am very excited. I also really enjoyed Death Stranding, um, for the reasons you mentioned, like the interaction with the terrain, and just that paired with sound design and music and just ambiance of the world and like weather and everything came together and it became this Zen experience. It was like beautiful and sometimes horrific, but this Zen trek, like man versus nature, as you wander across rainy, lush mountains filled with ghost creatures trying to kill you and a baby in a jar. And it's like it became this like this odyssey. And there's a certain introspection and reflectiveness that comes with that I don't often get in video games. That kind of in some ways was a little like Breath of the Wild, where you get this peace and serenity at times in the world, and I love that. And like you said, Death Stranding is such a unique experience, and I know some people didn't care for it. I actually really loved it, and it like you said, it stuck with me, and to this day, like not infrequently, I will just have a snapshot in my mind of like wandering around in Death Stranding and missing it and being, and I to the point where I've thought about replaying it. And
I kind of want to
I
replay
don't
it,
know that
but
I
we'll
have
see.
time for
Yeah.
that, but like I kind of want to. And seeing this trailer made me realize how much I missed this world and how excited I am for whatever comes next. And also, Kojima's so weird. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. Like a lot of games, you can kind of be like, like a new God of War game. You're like, you can kind of predict some of the
Right.
main beats and whatever, and that's not necessarily a problem. But with this, it's like like I was like, I don't even know what you do in Death Stranding 2. And then it's like now we're in another part of the world, and Bridges is gone, but we have this new organization, and this guy is Norman Reedus's brother or something, and he has a guitar that shoots electricity, and it's just like
Oh,
what the
that's the villain from the first game.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
don't
was like,
remember his
what
name.
what the heck is
Um,
going on here? Like, and
that was the point in the trailer where I'm like, is this too weird for me? And I'm undecided. I was like,
I don't
maybe,
think it is.
maybe not. I
Death
kind of
Stranding's
liked it.
already Death Stranding's weird enough that I feel like
But when he starts
it
shooting electricity out of his guitar as he's fighting, I was like,
it's
this
stupid
feels
that
like something a 5-year-old wrote in their notebook, and yet I
it
still
kind of
kind of
works.
like it.
I mean,
Like,
I feel like something Hideo Kojima did that works well with Death Stranding is he established how weird it is from the up front,
yeah, there's
so
just
that
no rules, so it's like do
he
whatever he
can
wants.
kind of get away with it. And I think it works because he's able to tie in like an interesting narrative and thematic stuff and like good gameplay. Like he can
Oh,
bring
the other
I
thing,
trust he can bring it together.
the little doll guy. What the heck?
Oh, the
What
little
even
marionette.
is
Yeah.
that? Yeah, and he's like in stop animation, like he's animated at a different
It's
frame
like
per
what
second.
is it's yeah, that
I
it's
loved the
fascinating.
God of War little Easter egg call out there. Did you catch that?
Was it there when he like tries to put him on his belt
When he tries to put him
and he's
behind his
like, not
back
my
and he's like,
like that's your
seriously,
butt.
Sam?
You're gonna put me on your butt? Like put me on the front. Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was about to do that. And I'm like, really? Is this just a thing now? We're going to put
And then
people
so he
on the,
puts him on
and
the
it is
front.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing but it was funny. I thought it was in good taste and it was kind of a funny little quip
It
there.
is.
So,
Well,
um,
but again, mechanically, I feel like Hideo Kojima knows how to make you feel um, some solitude as you're wandering this world, and like he gives you a certain experience, but then he'll give you like your little companion so that you're not completely lonely. Like you have a little bit of companionship. I don't know. Kojima knows how to craft an experience in a game, and what he was doing with Death Stranding worked so well for me. This absolutely just feels like he knows. Not only is he continuing it, he knows how to like change it up too, and it seems like this is going to be a good mix of more Death Stranding, but also different, and you don't know what to expect. So
yeah. Yeah. Not to wax poetic too much about Death Stranding, but now that I'm reminiscing a bit, it's just, it's one of those games where the further I get from it, like a Ghost of Tsushima, I start to appreciate it more and more. And I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it even at the time, even though I really did like it.
me too.
Because as I'm sitting here thinking about it, Death Stranding is one of those games where he created such a great world and environment to be in, and the sound design plays a big role in that as well, alongside the gameplay. It's one of those worlds where it's like you almost want to drop in and just kind of remember what it's like to stand around in that world and walk around and take
Yeah.
a zip line and all the sounds and different tactile things that you get. It's one of those games it's so different, but like a Breath of the Wild where you just want to jump in
Hmm.
and remember being in that world. So I got legit excited when I saw the new areas. I guess I'm not entirely clear. It seemed like Mexico. I don't know if we're going to be going a lot of
Yes.
places.
Yeah.
There were dunes and it looked pretty dry. I think it's going to be set in Mexico. That's just what I could surmise from watching this. I don't really know, but it's pretty cool to think about like a little more. I mean, I guess technically the first game was set in a lawless area where you're bringing everyone together, but it feels like this is even more so leaning into like this is, you know,
Yeah. They're outside the
foreign,
bounds of the
outside the
whatever
bounds of
governmental power that was sort of in the U.S.
yeah,
That
kind of
yeah.
seemed to indicate that combat might be a bit more of a focus in this game, thematically. I don't know if that will
Hmm.
be true, but yeah, it seems like Kojima's fully in his bag here, just
Yeah.
wheeling and dealing with these crazy characters and really leaning into the ones that we know and making them even crazier and just really digging into this world. So I
Yeah.
was bummed to see 2025. I was really hoping they were going to come out and surprise us and say, holiday 2024.
That would have
And then
been
I was
nice,
going to
but
spend all of my bucks and go grab it since you're broke. But
yeah, I'm glad it's not coming out this year for that reason. Um, but 2025, it looks like that's a fairly confident date simply because like they have so much put together already. So, oh, I'm excited. I knew I'd be excited for this. Like I loved Death Stranding, but this has me rethinking. Like when I think about like my top 10 list of video games, Death Stranding doesn't quite make the cut, or at least the last time it didn't. I was like, it's somewhere in the 10 to 15 range. Um, but after seeing this, I'm like, maybe it is in the top 10. Like, this is so
yeah,
good. I like, we'll
I,
see.
I I agree with that sentiment where it's like I didn't I didn't realize how excited for Death Stranding 2 I was until I saw this trailer and I'm like, oh, I am I'm quite excited. I surprised myself with how excited I am for it. So
Yeah, same.
we'll see. I'm sure it'll create all kinds of controversy on either side once again because a lot of people didn't click with Death Stranding and miss Metal Gear or whatever. But I think this looks really cool.
It's kind of a divisive game and series, but that's also, I like that we have that, because a lot of things in this day and age, video games as an industry is becoming much more mainstream, because at this point, it's more profitable, I think, than like the movie industry. And so that can easily kind of make everything just into this monotonous hodgepodge of like consumer grade content that is acceptable for the masses, but doesn't do anything weird or different. And that's why it's nice to have someone like Kojima, who is still like
Kind
a
of
premier
pushing the
person,
mold out a little. Yeah.
doing his weird stuff, because that I mean that keeps the art in the video game form, and isn't. Yeah.
Can't be afraid to swing and miss, or you'll never make anything interesting. So, although I'm not sure that Kojima's worried about missing anything.
That's exactly the point.
So, I didn't see this though. I guess I kind of skipped the end of this. Kojima appeared in the broadcast, which I saw, and I guess I wasn't paying enough attention, to announce that his next project for Sony after Death Stranding 2 will be a new IP and return to espionage action.
Yeah. Yep.
So interesting. That makes me wonder: is he wrapping things? Maybe I'm entirely wrong. Maybe he's wrapping things up with Death Stranding 2, or he's taking just a hiatus. We won't know until next year.
Yeah.
It is interesting that he's saying it's a return to espionage action, which makes me think that Death Stranding 2. I kind of wondered if he was going to lean a little bit more into a Metal Gear style of gameplay for Death Stranding 2. But maybe that's not the case with him saying his next IP will return to espionage action.
Yeah.
Just some off the cuff thoughts there, having read that quote. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, is this a new franchise, espionage action? Does this mean some new
it says
Kojima
new
and
IP.
new IP? Okay, so something
Yeah.
brand new. It's interesting. I mean, he's known for like kind of the espionage experience.
Yeah.
So I'll be checking it out. Like I kind of missed the boat on Metal Gear. I never played it growing up. Just never really got around to it. Um, but now that I've loved Death Stranding, like I'll probably be checking out. Well, I will be checking out whatever he
Same.
does next. So
Same. Well, I guess we don't know until we see it. But anyways, that was the showcase. And yeah, I mean there were 4 to 5 certifiable like pillars, I think, in this, which
yeah,
for a state of play, um
really
about as good
solid.
as you could ask for. And then culminating in Death Stranding 2, I think was just a great way. It was a great showing and a great way to end the show. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
Although
We got a
I will say, when we got to the end, I did have the thought of like, oh, they didn't show anything about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then at the end they were like, for more on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we're gonna have like its own extended showcase like next week. So that also helped with the showcases. Like there was a notable
yeah.
absence, and then they addressed it. They're like, "Hey, we know this is missing. It's coming next week." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll, I don't need to be
Oh,
sold
that's a
anymore on
that's a
Final
good
Fantasy."
call. That's a good call. We
Yeah,
got to call that out because I love the clarity. I didn't even catch that, and to me, I wasn't even. I know that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was listed as there was a bunch of leaks. Pretty much this entire thing was leaked. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was on there, but I didn't even come out of this being like, "Where's Final Fantasy VII?" Because at this point, for me personally, I don't need to see any more of Final Fantasy
yeah,
VII.
and that
I
might
was
be.
already thinking, I was already thinking like if there's anything, I'm gonna skim through it. Like I don't
Yeah,
need to see any more of that game. I know I'm gonna play it. I'm invested. I'm sure it'll be pretty good. So I probably won't watch unless we need to do like an episode on it. I don't have any interest in particularly watching more Final Fantasy VII. So, but I do
probably the
love.
same, because I don't want to spoil more than I need to.
Yeah, once you're invested, it's
Like
like
I'm on board.
I think we've seen enough tidbits and trailers to be like, oh, I'm excited. This is gonna be
Yeah,
cool. I don't want to see any more spoilery stuff, which trailers can kind of go too far trying to bring people in. So
yeah.
I do like the call out though that they addressed it in the
Hmm.
showcase, not in like a doc after or something. Like that's just the kind of clarity that has been sorely absent from the gaming industry at large and also Sony. Like just tell us,
Absolutely.
just be like, hey, we know you were expecting this. It'll be in a few weeks, or we know you're expecting this. We ran into some delay. Like just some more clarity in the industry is
Hmm.
always better. So I like that call
Absolutely.
out a lot. So there you have it, though. 4 out of 5 from both of us. I mean, after discussing it, I'm like at a 4.2, four
I
point
know.
two
Like
five. You
I've kind of
know,
increased. Like, yeah, this is really good. This honestly, for not having a first party game, this was probably about as good as you can get.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. I don't know if you could do, but if you told me there's no first party games, again, my expectations are low. How much better is life when your expectations are rock bottom? You know, I think that's the lesson here.
It really is.
Oh, all
And
right.
keep that in
Any
mind when
closing
listening to our
thoughts?
pod. Yeah, keep that in mind when listening to our
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Come in
That
with
is
the
a great
lowest of
message to our
expectations.
audience.
Like expect the barest minimum. Just don't expect anything from us, but keep listening, because then
And
you'll
you will
be
be
pleasantly
shocked at how
surprised.
much you enjoy our meandering thoughts. Speaking of meandering thoughts. Okay, no, but that'll conclude it. That's it for DualShocked. Um, nice to be able to go over some Sony news. Feels like it's been quiet. Oh, one last thing I want to call out. What's his name? The new guy, the new face of Sony. Is
Oh
it
yeah,
Herman Holster? Or is that the other guy?
I forget what his
I
name is,
always
but
get
yeah.
them mixed up. Well, this is me crashing and burning trying to call him out, but I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was a good presence,
Mm-hmm.
and I just liked his cadence and his bedside manner, if you will.
Yeah,
I
he
thought it
didn't
was a
feel too
nice face of the
self-important.
showcase.
He didn't feel too self-important. He didn't feel too stuffy business type.
It felt a
Like
little
some of those,
genuine, almost,
a little,
whether it's
I
fake or
mean,
not, it's got to feel that way,
it's
you
got to
know.
feel a little bit that, because a lot of them come in and you're like, oh yeah, the executive comes in to act like he's innovating, and it's like, it's easy to be cynical about. But I also feel like he didn't draw too much attention to himself. He was
Ah,
just kind of, yeah, good bedside manner is a good way to
very
put it. So
understated, and
hmm
is it Herman Holston? Trying to get a quick picture here.
he really let the attention be focused on the games, and he was just kind of a sort of a mediating presence to remind us that like the leadership is involved in this. And between that and just the quality of how this was put together and what was there, like it's only one showcase, but still I think it's a good sign of maybe things to come.
There you go. Well, you don't come here for facts, so I'm not going to find out his name. We'll
Yeah, get
discuss
your
it
own
later.
facts. It's not that's
But
not
I
important.
did deliver on meandering thoughts after saying I wasn't going
Mm-hmm.
to. So you're welcome.
And
And
you
that
came
will
in with
conclude
no
DualShocked.
expectations, so
Exactly.
you got what you asked for.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us for DualShocked. And we'll catch you in the next. Hopefully, we get some more Sony news this year. I don't know. We'll do this periodically if there's things to talk about when it comes to PlayStation, because that's, for better or worse, that's where our heart lies, um, even when it can feel like a bad relationship. So we'll be here. We'll be here. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Never Lag.